right, Shalom. Let me get straight into this lesson, but I'm gonna be getting back on this subject dealing with so-called white people and so-called black people, right? So these the names that are used today, right? And it's a social construct to keep you lost, to keep you confused, right? And everybody embrace these pseudo nationalities. They all made up. When you go, look up the biblical nationalities, they're not used anymore. Just they say just the so-called Jews, right? All right. And they created this confusion, these deep enchantments on you Jakes to keep you lost, to keep you wandering through America in a spiritual sense. So I'm gonna get into this social studies teacher, and she's gonna go touch up on this white so-called new concept of so-called white people. Give me 1 second.
Highly individualized sentiment in some ways, right? So I'm not asking when was the first white person racist against a black person, because I could never answer that question. But what I'm asking is, when did white people start identifying themselves as one group that was diametrically opposed to another group of black people? And that we do know. And the answer is the 17th century. And hey, that's the same century that the American colonies were founded. Coincidence? No way. So think about this for a second. White people is a made-up thing. Like, what is...
Did you hear this? So-called white people is a made-up nationality or ethnicity, right? Prior to 1681, there was no race of humanity referred to as so-called white people and so-called black people. I'm gonna get into those definitions, and we have to be redundant because there's new people waking up. And some of you Jakes we got to keep going over the same thing because the world has programmed you your whole life, right? All I got is about 14, 15 minutes, right? So let's back this up. 1 second.
Colonies were founded. Coincidence? No way. So think about this for a second. White people is a made-up thing. Like, what does it mean to be white?
Okay, so white people was all made up, and now it's what the word really means of why they did this, right? Because white is associated with some positive, purity, light, joy, all right, innocence. And black is associated with some negative, evil, demonic, wicked, right? That's why you have a term called black sheep of the family. That when you interject this word black, it automatically makes the subject negative, right? So let's go here. I'm a just keep it very simple. We're going to go back into some ABC understanding, right? You have to stop saying these things. Our people just so indoctrinated. All right. So black. Why do they call you black? And then we can go through the other tribes too. Hispanic, all made up, right? So-called Puerto Rican, all made up. Them are Ephraimites, right? Then you got the Benjamites, so-called Jamaicans in the West Indies, so-called, right? Then you have the Levites, would be the so-called Haitians, right? Then the so-called Dominicans, the so-called Brazilians. And we say so-called because this is new speak, right? So this pertaining to all the tribes. And if you look at our skin tone, if you want to put a color on it, predominantly most of you Jakes are brown skinned. And you have Jakes of different hues. You got Jakes that from the complexion of Chris Brown, all the way from the complexion of Shaq, right? Different skin tones. And Jake is spread among all nations right now. You got Israelites that look like so-called white people. You got Israelites that look like so-called Chinese people. And that's a hard mystery for a lot of you Jakes to really understand. If the man was dealing with other nationality, the Israelite men was dealing with other nationality than women, that mean the children in some cases going to come out looking like heathens. How is that so hard to understand? If you know the history, you know the Jake men was popping other nationalities and women. This ain't nothing new. So you can't be so fixated on the skin thing. That skin tone thing is a so-called white man construct, right? It's unbiblical because we went off biblical nationalities. You're going to have Israelites that look like all nationalities from all the mingling with the different nation of women. All right, so this is not a black thing. We're not black Hebrew Israelites. They put that word black in front of what our heritage is so they could put the negative stigma there. Black. right? It's one of my old time dictionaries. Black, religious symbol of mourning, death, sin, sickness, and evil. So when you say you are black, you're saying you saying you evil. You're saying you're sick. You're saying you're full of sin, death, right? So let's go to this definition. White. Give me 1 second. Right? So this was purposely done. White. Religious symbol of light, joy, purity, innocence, and holiness. Did I not? I'm telling you nothing but the truth. That's why they call you a crayon color. Right? They got people calling themselves white and black. Right? Out of their pure ignorance. Give me 1 second. And that's why we was set up to bring the truth out so you can understand for the elect. Hosea 4:6. This is an infamous scripture. It says our people destroyed for lack of knowledge because they have rejected knowledge. So we bring the truth to our people. They reject it, right? They want to stay stuck in a stubbornness, right? I would also reject thee. Thou should be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power. So you got finessed on that. You got tricked. They told you the law was done away with. That's not true. The law is still stands. That's how you know what's righteous and what's wicked, measuring against the law. It says, I will also forget thy children. So that's why you got a generation of completely lost Israelites that's calling themselves everything under the sun besides their true ethnicity. They call themselves Kemet. Just all this confusion. Right here, I'm gonna read this. Bowen's notes on the Bible. It says, my people at the very top to the left. My people destroyed for lack of knowledge. What's emphasized is lack of knowledge. Right? Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. It says, my people are not, is. This accurately represents the Hebrew, right? The word people speaks of them as a whole. So most of our people are completely destroyed mentally, right? They don't know what is going on. They don't know why they're here. They don't know what life is about. They don't understand even what their nationality is or their ethnicity. So if you don't know what your ethnicity is, you can't know who you is. You can't know where you're going. You can't know where you come from. You're lost, right? You completely guided by the world. It says right here, it says the word people speaks of them as a whole. It says R relates to the individuals of whom that whole is composed. Together the words express the utter destruction of the whole one of all. They are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Literally. It says of the knowledge. The only knowledge which is the creature is real knowledge. That knowledge of the want of which he had before complained. It says the knowledge of the creator. So Isaiah mourns in the same words. So, you know what I'm saying? We in the same mourning spirit because we know that our people are completely lost and they go off these social constructs, right? Let's go to this word social construct. So black and white, so-called Chinese, so-called Japanese, right? So-called Dominican, so-called Brazilians, so-called Haitians, so-called Jamaicans, so-called Native Americans, so-called Australians. These are all new social constructs. None of these pseudo nationalities is in the Bible of the table of nations. It's what's the social construct though, and most of you Jakes are you're binded to these social constructs. It says a social construct is an idea that has been created and accepted by the people in a society. Do you hear this? So it's been created, it's been accepted in this society that most of our people concede to being so-called black people. And I went into that definition of what black means. And they've been conceded as being so-called Mexicans, so-called Hispanics, so-called Dominicans, so-called Jamaicans, so-called Haitians, so-called Native Americans, if I didn't say that. So these are social constructs that was all created, right? But you don't know that because you're in complete ignorance. Let's go here. It says, check this out, going back into this black pseudo nationality. It says, while many different racial terms have been used throughout their history, the standard prefer for Salakia prefer to your I'm getting tongue tied. Term changed from colored in the 19th century, in the 19th and early 12th, 20th century to Negro. So it changed from colored to Negro, and from then until the 1960s, then to black. So why your nationality, your ethnicity keep changing? Why is this so? Because they're hiding your true nationality from you. It says, and now perhaps African American. So they got this. They got you. You see this confusion. So colored, Negro, black, so called, and African American. That is utter madness, right? But this is what our people concede to because they are governed by the world, right? Let's go to this word Africa. So they call you Africans, right? That's another byword that's been placed on you, and it leads to confusion. You have people that so-called learned is still using this word African to refer to who we are. Completely lost. It says Africa, Latin, Africa. So this is word goes back into Latin, right? Africa land, Libya. It says, let me just kind of skim through it. It said the Latin word originally was used only in reference to the region around modern day Tanzania. It gradually was extended to the whole continent. You hear this? So this word African, Africa, Salaki, that's how you get the word African. It's all new speech, right? They'll call you African so they can not call you by your true nationality, which are Hebrew Israelites, so you can stay lost. So this word African is new speech and all confusion as well. Let's go to this word Europe, right? So they were, Jake, when they have a little knowledge, they refer to the Edomites. That's their true biblical nationality. So-called white people, they'll refer to them as Europeans, but Europeans is new speech as well. Right here, Europe. That's how you got the word European, right? They say the Europeans, but not knowing that Jake was ruling so-called Europe for over 1,000 years, right? So Europe was a diverse place. It wasn't all so-called white people in Europe. That's another misconception that you think, right? It says Latin, Europa, Europe. It says from Greek Europe, which is of uncertain origin, right? So when you go deeper into this word Europe, it goes back to this deity, Europa. It says right here. It says, matter of fact, let me go here so you can see. I'm gonna just jump down on it a little bit. Right here, still in the word Europe. That's how you got the word European. It said often displaying broad face, blah blah blah, but also traditionally linked to Europa, or Europa, Phoenician princess in Greek mythology. Well, there you go. So Greek mythology, right here. This is the deity Europe. That's how you got the name Europe, and that's how you got the Europeans, right? Which that's not a true nationality or ethnicity. It says in Greek mythology, Europa was a Phoenician princess and the daughter of Agenor, the Phoenician king of Sidon. So this is going back into them Hamites, right? But the so-called white man is steal these concepts and repackage them as so-called white people, white deities, which is idols. So there's no such thing as European people. That's another social construct, right, that was made up. And the so-called white people, the term white was invented in 1681, right? That's when they put it into law. It says it's like the idea to create so-called white people to group distinct Europeans, nationalities, another made-up word, together into a single group have not been done until 1681 in Maryland. Right? Hopefully this lesson was edifying. Call Halal Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim, Rachat Kodash. Shalom.